Good evening and welcome to Storytime with Stephanie. I'm your host, Stephanie Outen, and Storytime with Stephanie is a segment of the Writer's Anointing podcast that you can catch on any of your major podcast streaming platforms. Storytime with Stephanie is our opportunity to give authors a chance to share their stories, tell us about their books, tell us about themselves, and what it is that they have upcoming. And so tonight, I'm so happy to have with us on episode 3 now of season 3, Sanetta Guyton, who, if you follow her on social media, most of you may know her as Miss Hopeful Romantic. I'm so excited to talk about that as well. Sanetta was born and raised in Miami Gardens, Florida. She has a bachelor's degree in human resource management and management information systems from Florida International University and a master's degree in business administration from Nova Southeastern University. She is employed as a government agent with a government agency for the past 17 years. Like, she's so youthful looking. I can't believe she's worked anywhere for 17 years. But she has 17 years with the government. And as Miss Hopeful Romantic, she believes that there are so many gems hidden beneath the surface of our life experience that need to be shared. And what I really love about Sanetta and her book is that she's not afraid to share. And she is open and honest and candid about a lot of the experiences that either she has had herself in love and relationships, as well as those that she interviewed for her book, Diary of a Hopeful Romantic. So we'll be sharing all of the links for you to be able to contact Sanetta, to be able to get copies of her book. But I am so grateful to have Sanetta with us tonight to talk about her book, Diary of a Hopeful Romantic. So Sanetta, are you with us?
I'm with you.
Hello, hello. How are you?
How are you doing? Hello.
I'm doing great. You look beautiful.
Thank you. Are
Yeah.
you getting a
So
delay?
yeah, there's a little bit of a delay. We're just gonna pray through it. We know these things happen and it's okay. So you
Oh,
just
okay.
chime in whenever you hear me, okay?
No problem.
All right. So, Sanetta, I shared a little bit of your bio, shared with everyone that you're known as Miss Hopeful Romantic. So, tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you came to write this book, Diary of a Hopeful Romantic.
Hello. My name is Sanetta Guyton, as you already mentioned, and I deemed myself Miss Hopeful Romantic because I felt like I was not a hopeless romantic. Like, that's the term that most people use to describe themselves. Hopeless to me means like fairy tale. Like, it's not realistic to what's going on in real life. So I felt like I'm more hopeful than hopeless. Hopeful sounds more positive as well than hopeless. um Hopeless romantics, they think that someone's going to come and then sweep them off their feet and they're going to ride into the sunset. The hopeful romantic, she puts in the work. She's trying to
Mm.
fix herself, she's hoping for the best, she's doing whatever she can to make her situation better, but she still wants that ideal love life or whatever. But more about me, I'm a foodie. I love to travel. I like to go to restaurants. I like to relax. Those are my main things that I love to do.
Okay.
Um, how the book came to be is I'm very open on Facebook and on so how that came to be was my family. We're a very open family. Like my mom, my dad, my sisters, we can almost talk about anything. So I've been used to sharing my story. I've been used to being in living in my truth. So that's how it all unfolded, with me being open on Facebook and just telling my stories of my dating relationships on Facebook.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
a lot of people would come to me and say, you might want to get into starting a podcast or writing a
mhm,
book or doing different things to, flourish more with your
mhm.
gift. And I just kept, you know, I kept pushing it to the side. I'm just a girl from Miami. Nobody knows me. I'm not that important. My story is just like everybody else's. I came up with a million excuses to not do it. And then finally, I just said, you know what? I'm going to do this. And I did it.
Excellent. I love it. I love it. It's interesting, especially first time authors always think my story is not important. Who's gonna listen? Like, what's the
Mhm.
point of me sharing this? And I went through the same things when I was writing my first book. And I'm telling you, every person that has been given a story should
Mhm.
tell it in the way that they need to. And you really did that with this particular book,
Mhm.
especially, it being your first book, your first published book. Hopefully, many more will come from this and other opportunities will come from this. But, hearing you say that your family is a very open and candid family allowed you to be able to express yourself in the way that you have in this particular book.
Mhm.
And so, let's talk a little bit more about how you got to the place of actually writing this book, because with Diary of a Hopeful Romantic, it's a compilation of short stories, of
Mhm.
interviews that you did with other individuals who have been in some very interesting relationships. And one of the things I said to Sanetta at the very beginning is, I couldn't tell which of these stories were hers, which I think she did that on purpose.
Yes,
But
I did.
yes. So maybe tonight she'll share, which ones were about her. And if not, that's okay. But what I do enjoy
Mhm.
is that there's a variety of things that happen within these different stories, and so many themes found within the different stories of the individuals that you interviewed, as well
Mhm.
as the experiences that you had. So tell me how you came about actually finding these people to talk to about their different relationship experience or situationships that they experienced.
Okay, well, of course, the book is titled Diary of a Hopeful Romantic. So initially, it was going to be all my stories.
Mhm,
So that's how I started, that's how I started.
mhm,
So while I'm writing the book, I'm like, okay, I have some very interesting stories, but there's a lot of things I have not experienced in life. And I felt like other people can help with the book and impact other people with their stories.
mhm,
Like, thankfully, I have not had a physical abusive relationship. I
mhm,
can't speak on that.
mhm.
So, just to get other perspectives and on different love relationship experiences,
We're losing you a little bit, Sanetta.
okay, yeah,
Okay, think you're coming back.
okay. Can you hear me?
Can you hear
Yeah.
us?
Yeah, the
Okay.
first thing I did was I put out, anyone has a story that, yes, I can hear you. I said the first thing I did was I put a post on social media and I was just like, anyone want to share their story for a project? And I didn't get many hits, so I end up getting like maybe two people to share their stories, just strangers. So the rest came from family, friends, and people who knew this project had started.
Okay. Wow. Um,
Hmm.
that's quite interesting because so many times, when you put a call out for people to like kind of tell their stories, people will be raising their hands like, oh, I want to tell it. But I think what happens sometimes is when you begin to say, hey, let's talk about love and relationships. Sometimes people could be embarrassed, right, to share their story. They
Hmm.
could feel uncomfortable
Yeah.
sharing their story about what they've been through in these different relationships.
Hmm.
And so clearly the individuals that you interviewed for your book, they were not uncomfortable. They let it,
Yeah.
all out. So let me ask you this. As you were interviewing these individuals, did they kind of share their stories with you verbatim and then you wrote them? Like, how did you go about um bringing the stories together in this book?
Okay. Okay, I'll tell you how I started with one of the stories. I told them to tell me the whole story, and I recorded it. And while I was writing, I was painting the picture of how I thought they might feel. And if there were certain things that I did not know how they felt, I would just ask them, like, okay, like, what did you feel in this moment? And I described it. Like, one time, I'm not going to get too detailed, but someone gave me a sexual scene, but they was very vague with it. And I took it upon myself to just elaborate on how I felt with experiences I've had or whatever. So I
Mhm.
just take what they told me and I elaborated on it. Some of the stories they left out details and I just added different details that I thought would make it more interesting or
Okay.
that will get the point across better to the reader.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so essentially, you took these true stories and you, like you said, you elaborated or kind of fictionalized some of it to just give it some oomph, right? Some real
Yes.
interest that would pique the reader's desire to read more. And you definitely did that. I'm just going to be honest. You did that. So let's talk about some of the themes that are found within this book because there's a multitude. How many people altogether did you interview?
Okay. Ooh, that's a secret.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll say we're gonna go with 8.
Okay. Okay. All right. So then that means there's a
I
lot of
think
these
it's
stories
about
that are
8.
your own. Okay. So as you were going through and you interviewed these individuals, did
Yes.
you for your
There's 16 chapters. Out of the
okay.
16 chapters, 4 of them are mine.
Ah, okay. Okay, that's good to know. Four of them are yours. Now, as you were going through,
Repeat the question?
did you notice the themes that were coming out? What I found most often in some of the stories, there were themes of infidelity quite a bit, themes of narcissism, which was
Mhm.
big. Um, there were some domestic,
Mhm.
issues that were faced. What were you feeling as you were going through? Did you say, "Hey, I notice I'm getting more of this topic or more of this topic, and maybe I want to have, less of this and more of that"? What was your process in deciphering which of those stories you were going to put into the book?
Um, I didn't have a process as far as eliminating things. I was including everything I can think of to so that the audience can relate to the stories. I didn't want
Mhm,
it to be just one-sided as, infidelity, but I
mhm,
did end up having a lot of infidelity issues
mhm, mhm,
within the book. But there was never just okay, I want this, I want that. A I wanted a melting pot of issues going on. One of the things I did want to the reader to get from the book is like I'm sorry, drew a blank when the screen went off. I drew a blank, but one of the issues I wanted them to get is accountability and and
mhm.
basically seeing how the story unfold and what could have been prevented in the beginning. That was one of my main things I wanted to get across to the reader because a lot of times we always point the finger at the other gender, and there's a lot of things that were red flags in the beginning that we just ignored. So one of the major things is ignoring red flags. So yes.
That is the number one topic I want
Mhm.
to talk about tonight, ignoring the red flags, because in pretty much every one of these
Can
stories,
you hear me?
there were red flags right at the
It went
beginning.
out.
We can hear you.
Mhm.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay.
Can you hear
Yes,
me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So
Yes.
there were red flags pretty much through the every one of these stories. There were red flags. And you said something so important about accountability because what we realized by the end of each of these chapters is the individual you interviewed, whether it be the woman or the man, had to get to a place of realizing that, you know what? I saw this in the beginning. I should have, stayed away from this person, but I didn't. I let my feelings get involved. I let my heart take over. I let my body take over. And I didn't really sit still to say this person is not right for me. And so we find that so often in relationships. I'm guilty. I've done it, And so tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about even in some of your own situations where the red flags
Mhm.
were like waving and they were like, Sanetta, girl, please run the other way. Stop it. Turn around and leave this person alone. Tell us a little bit about what was going through your mind that made you say, you know what? I still want to pursue it regardless of the red flags.
Oh. Okay, well, one of the stories, let me see which one I'll reveal. Okay, I tell everyone the first story is me. So I'll go with the
Mhm.
first story. That
Okay.
is a true story of my 70-year-old self experiencing love for the first time. So, of course, when you experience in love for the first time, you don't know what that feeling is. And I wanted that feeling to be conveyed to the audience, like, the tightness in your chest. So you don't know what it is. You don't know you're going through heartbreak. So I just trying to describe those feelings to the reader. But it was my first love. So, I kept ignoring different red flags, not knowing any better, letting my heart lead instead of my mind. And so definitely I didn't have that growth. And
Mhm.
even though there were other stories where I did have the wisdom, I'll say you just holding on to that initial feeling, the butterflies in the beginning, how they treat you in the beginning, you're still holding on to that memory. And even though they're showing you who they are, you still remember who they were. And that is sometimes keeping people in relationships.
Ooh, that was good. Yeah, even though you know who they are, you still remember. You remember who they were, and that is okay, girl. You just did something. I got goosebumps when you said that.
Yes.
Because it's true. Like we're holding on to that first initial feeling, how they made us feel. And no matter what they're doing to us, no matter what they've done, and how much we need to kick them to the curb, we are still like, no, but I remember when, and it was so beautiful, and I loved it. And Carol says, so true, right? And
Yes. Yes.
unfortunately, that happens so often for us as women, right? As women,
Mhm.
we're the ones that will hold on to who that person used to be. And let me just stop here and say again, welcome everyone for joining us. We know that some are going to join live, some will join on the replay and watch Sanetta tell her story about the diary of a hopeful romantic. But thank you for watching Storytime with Stephanie, a segment of the Writer's Anointing podcast. Feel free to join us, comment, share your comments. You can ask questions. We'll have an opportunity for you to ask Sanetta questions and for her to respond. But feel free to just jump into the comments and we'll continue on with the conversation. But one of the things that I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about, too, Sanetta, is the whole accountability piece, right? The first story you said was about you, 17-year-old young girl, first love, and you got duped, right? Like this guy really messed with your mind, messed with your heart. And at 17, sometimes we just don't know better, right? But at what point did you stop to say, all right, I have to take responsibility and accountability for my own actions here? I've seen this and I need to step away. What was that process like for you?
Okay. Well, at 17, well, by the time the relationship was ended, I was like 20. Um, I decided that like one of the things in that story, I won't give away too many details, was I found out within the first conversation, I think that he had a baby on the way. And that was like a hell of a red flag. So I should have left that alone. And then in the beginning of my 20s, because of that horrible experience that I had with the baby mama drama, I didn't even want to date anybody who had kids for a while. I think I was just scared straight for a while. So it taught me to just be um more picky or more have better standards for myself as far as dating. I started to know what I liked. I knew that I liked someone who likes to be around me a lot. I knew that I liked someone that was affectionate. So it taught me things that I like, and it taught me can you hear me?
You broke up a little bit, but I think I heard what you said. You were able to get to a place of setting standards for yourself. And even though throughout those first 3 years with your first relationship, you really didn't know what you wanted. You really didn't know what to expect from someone else because this was your first
Mhm,
real experience. But having gone through
mhm,
that and then having other relationships, you began to see, wait a minute, there's some things that I have to make sure I'm getting out of this relationship. There's
mhm.
things that I'm going to give, but there are definitely some things that I need to get, right? And so by you setting those standards, did you
Right.
find that your relationship started to get better, or did you find that you still kind of ended up in the same mess of relationships?
I hope you can hear me because it's starting to be a little choppy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? It's starting to get a little choppy.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. My relationships did get better, but it was kind of funny, and that's another reason why the theme in my book is like humor because I started to like kind of laugh at my relationships a little bit. It was like the game got better. You think you learned it, and then another game gets played on you. So it's like you learn lessons, but then it's like something else happens. So you get away from the baby mama drama, but then you end up with a manipulative person, and you get rid of the manipulative person, and you get someone that's like a not financially stable. It's always something. So every
Mhm.
time I learn one lesson, I end up learning more lessons from my other relationships. But the quality overall got better.
Yeah.
Quality overall got better. Like my first, I should have mentioned it more in the book, but he set the bar very high as far as how I wanted to be treated. You know, he used to call me his queen. He made me feel so special. So that's why I said, a lot of times we hold on to how we initially felt in that relationship. And then you wondering where that person is, or you're trying to wait for that person to evolve and become that person who you thought they were in the beginning. So he definitely raised the bar, and he also taught me a lot of lessons in relationships.
Yeah. I think every relationship is like that. And I saw a comment from Carol. It says, different men brought different mess. And that's so
Basically.
true. Right? That's so true that you had to experience different lessons with different men in order to really get to a place of saying, okay, enough is enough. And you also had to do some introspection. What is it within me that I need to start doing differently so that maybe I attract the right man? And when I attract the right man, he stays. You said something. I don't know if this is your quote, but I'm going to say it was yours. And I loved it
Mhm.
because it said, it seemed that getting a man to love me was like a secret that was guarded and encased within some heightened level of wisdom and self love that I didn't have or know how to obtain. And when I read that, I was like, ooh, highlight all over that. Because that, again, I don't know if that was you or that was the person you interviewed, but that was such an open reflection of like, I don't love myself. If I
Right,
don't love myself, how is anyone else going to love me? Right. And
right,
so
right.
let's, I'm sorry, I don't want to mispronounce your name, but we have a comment that says, I agree with Carol, but they made you better in the long run. And that is absolutely true. Every relationship made you better.
Yes.
Let's talk about that whole self love piece, getting to that place of loving yourself enough that someone else can come and love you the way that you desire.
Ooh, yes. So every relationship, I learned more about myself,
Mm.
and I felt like certain things that I stayed in, it was a reflection of not loving yourself, not valuing yourself. It's like, one day you just finally wake up, or you just finally get tired, and then you look back at some of the things that you put up with, and you was like, you know what? I don't deserve that. But if I'm allowing it, then not that I deserve it, but it's gonna happen. You
Mhm.
know, like you allow that. It's how do you say it? You tell people how to treat you, and we
Yes.
don't know that, But if you tell a person or you show a person that I will accept disrespect, then they're going to continue to do it. So that's what I learned about a lot about myself. I was teaching them how to treat me, and I didn't know that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So tell us some of the things that you had to begin to do in order to develop that self love. Because so many people will say, oh, I just had to start loving myself. But what did that look like for you practically so that you could then invite in the men that would truly treat you the way that you desire to be treated?
Okay, number one, reflection. I will always just I overanalyze a lot of things. I'm an overthinker. So I will always just think about the whole relationship from the beginning to the from the beginning to the end. Like, why did I do this? Or why did I do that? Or why did he do this? And why did he do that? And so one thing was accountability, reflection, accountability. And I also just took some time to just be still for a second. Cause sometimes I would get out of a relationship, I'll log on to a website some weeks or months later and then start the process all over again. So I had to just be still for a little bit and then move forward. Another thing that I did was I would really just ask someone, like, most people won't agree with this, but if I had a decent relationship with an ex, I will ask them, what could I have done better? Not to make you stay or anything, but as a whole, as a person, what could have made me a better person? So, I know that's, not something people will normally agree with, but I really did that with a couple exes. Um, and that helped me grow as well.
I love that. We have a comment that says, I had
Now,
to seize my relationship. I had to heal myself and took time to find out and learn me. And
yes.
that's exactly what you did. And what I love what you said is you took the time to ask questions of those that you had dated in the past. I think that's an excellent thing to do, especially if you have a good enough relationship where they'll be honest and tell you the truth. I've done that,
Mm,
right? Hey, I want to know
yeah.
what could I do differently so that I don't end up in the
Mm,
same type of situation. I don't behave in the
mhm,
way that I may have behaved, right? And I think that's
mhm,
an excellent thing that we can do to make sure that we understand the other person's perspective about us, but it gives us that time to reflect, like you said, on what you can do differently. And so taking that time out to be by yourself for however long you think you need to, because some people only need like
mhm.
90 days, some people need a whole year, some people need 5 years.
Right.
You get to decide that, right? But in the time that you take, it needs
Right.
to be useful, right? You need to be doing something to work on
Mhm,
yourself. So
mhm,
when you did start doing those things, what did you find
mhm.
as far as the men that started to come into your life at that point?
Uh, One of the things I also did, I forgot to write down. I actually wrote down a list of things that I actually wanted. And as a matter of fact, I have a boyfriend right now. I've been dating for almost a year and 5 months, I think. But I had put a post on Facebook listing everything I wanted in a man. And I said at the end, yeah, I know it's me. It's, like it's a fairy tale. I know it's just me. It's not going to happen. And I just said that to just kind of, so I won't get all that backlash, but it was my real list. And I end up meeting someone who basically was everything on that list except for one thing. And I think that's another thing that you can do. Really write down what you want, really know yourself and know what you want. But also setting standards, like I said in the beginning, there are certain things I will not take or not date. And I didn't hold on to things when I started noticing patterns in the beginning. So as I got older, one main thing for me was consistency. If I didn't see consistency, I'm gone. Like,
Yes.
I didn't waste any time trying to wait for the consistency. If I didn't see that
Hmm.
consistency in the beginning, the consistent phone calls, the consistent dates, whatever it may be, I didn't waste any time. Like some people date differently. I say date how you date, but how I date, if you're not trying to call
Exactly.
me, you're not trying to see me, it's not going to work. And I was still running to, certain guys I would not be in dating for long term, but
Mhm.
I didn't hold on to them. That was the main thing.
Yeah.
So it definitely helped improve my love life as far as not holding on to things I know I didn't want in my life.
Very good. Very good. Ashley Grace says, yes, that's good advice. Feedback about others' experience with us can be so valuable, albeit hard to hear at times. And yes, it can be very difficult to hear what someone else has to say about you, but it is valuable. It's helpful, right? Because it allows you to
Yes.
even get to that place of not just making a list of the things that you want out of that potential mate, but the things that you expect of yourself as well, right? The things that you plan to uphold yourself to, the things that you want to make sure that you're doing consistently for yourself
Mm,
as well. So that when that mate comes into your life, they're going to be consistently doing the things that you desire for them to do as well. So I love that. And thank you all for the questions, the comments, the feedback. Please continue to share throughout the show. Sanetta, there's a few other themes in the book that I wanted to touch on. And feel free to let us know if it was your own story or someone else's. But the chapter about the narcissist, my God, the narcissist chapter, I sat there and I'm like, is this for real? Some of these stories, you have to
okay.
sit back and say,
Mm,
my God, people actually experience this stuff. So tell us a little bit about that particular chapter, whether it was your story or if you've encountered a narcissist in
ooh,
your own dating life. What did that look like for you? Can you see us, Danetta?
oh goodness.
Okay.
I cannot hear the question. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I kind of went out. I did not hear the question. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. So the question is about the chapter about the narcissist. I don't know if that was a chapter about your own real life dating
Mm,
experience or someone else's, but
yes.
um, if you've been through that particular situation with dating a narcissist, tell us what that experience
Hmm.
was like and how someone can actually pick up on if this person is a narcissist or not.
Ooh, okay. That relationship lasted 3 years, and that relationship was my story. Yes, the
Okay.
narcissist. That was my story. Yes, but that relationship lasted 3 years, and one of the things that stuck out the most was he made me question myself so much. Like, I will be, you're so insecure or you're so this and you're so that. And you're like, wait a minute, I thought I was confident. I thought I was this, I thought I was that. And he would constantly make me out to be the person. Like, for example, if I see him talking to someone at a party much too cozy than they should be. And I'm like, hey, what's going on, with that situation? Oh, you're so insecure. You're this, you're that. And it was constantly what I found out later is gaslighting, like
Yes.
making me out to be the person when it wasn't me the whole time. He was just very manipulative. He one time I remember I went out with him and his guy friends to a pool hall, and I said, well, what your guys friends think about me, because it was my first time meeting his friends. And he was just like, oh, they said you were cool, but one person said you can stand to lose 10 pounds.
What?
And I felt like, yes. So later on, after I saw the constant like manipulation, the emotional abuse, the words and the certain things, I realized later on, I was like, you know what? That was probably him telling me I need to go to the gym, I need to lose 10 pounds, but he
Yep.
used other people to say it about me. It was just constantly making me feel a certain way when I knew I wasn't going crazy. Like, it happened often.
And that is what narcissistic people do. I'm like, I'm seeing comments coming on the side, and I'm like, yeah, that is what narcissistic people do, because they will always have you over in a corner somewhere thinking, oh my God, it's me. Like everything
Mhm.
is my fault. And no, it is an extreme form of manipulation. It is an
Mhm.
extreme form of just making you feel like you're going crazy. And that's the unfortunate part
Mhm.
about being in relationship with a narcissist. And so, Sonetta, when you look back at that particular relationship and how you entered into that relationship, what were some of the red flags that you now can go back and say, man, I saw this and I should have gone the other way, but I still pursued it, and I stayed in this thing for 3 years, even when he was making me crazy. What were
Oh,
the red
let me
flags?
the red flags. Okay, one of the red flags was he went out of town and I could not get in contact with him the whole weekend. Red flag, like leave. And I believed it's BS. And I was like, I knew it didn't feel right. I knew it wasn't right, but and that was very early on. Like I could have left at that time, but
Yeah.
I believe that BS. Another situation was I spoke about it in the story where he was leaving my apartment and his ex-girlfriend was downstairs and she was acting a whole fool and
Yeah.
showing me pics in her phone and saying all kind of stuff, and he was saying things to her, you ain't, I'm not with you anymore, and it's been over, just saying things to her. And I'm like, in my mind,
Yeah.
my naive mind, I'm like, he's saying how he feels in front of me to her,
Yeah.
so it has to be true. And it was, he was still involved, and I should have just left then. Drama, I should have just left then. So it was different red flags. Those three were definitely red flags.
Yeah. I think what happens sometimes, especially if, just like you, when you were 17, the first relationship that you had,
Mhm,
there were levels of drama in that. And sometimes you feel like, well, maybe that's what relationships are supposed to be like. And so you often
mhm,
find yourself in relationships that are just dramatic, right? And you begin
mhm.
to believe that that's what it's supposed to be. If there's no drama, then I guess there's no love, and I guess there's no excitement, but that's far from
Yes,
the truth, right? And so
exactly.
you had to get yourself to a place of figuring out what in me is allowing this drama to continue to persist, right? Because you had drama in the first relationship and drama in the the fourth relationship that you reveal in the story, right? And but you had
Mhm,
to get to a place of saying, okay, no more drama. Plug to Mary
mhm.
J. Blige. No more drama. I don't want this
Right.
in my life anymore. And so, what did you do to start purging yourself of the drama in your own life, in your own self, so that you no longer attracted those types of relationships?
Uh, I I just did not stand for. I stopped believing that struggles came with relationships. Like I was just not for the drama, not for the struggle love. I post about it often. I am totally against struggle love. I don't believe we have to go through so much drama in the beginning of our relationship. Life relationship happens. Maybe something might happen 5 years down the line. I don't know. But to go through that struggle love process in the beginning just for someone to say I value you and I'm going to marry you, no, don't drag me through hell and then tell me I'm valuable later. I don't believe in struggle love anymore.
Somebody
So
put that one up. Don't drag me through hell.
okay,
And
no,
like put
no,
that up, because that is so true. Like we feel like if there's no struggle, there's no love, and that's far from the truth. That is far.
right,
I believe that relationships, yes, they're going to have their challenges, but there should be a level of ease and grace that comes with
mhm,
that relationship, where
yes,
it feels so comfortable and so light and so easy, right? To
yes,
be in that relationship. Who in the heck wants to fight all day long and call that love? That's so pointless, right?
yes. Like
Oh,
someone said, I need to see someone in all seasons. I totally disagree with that. Like, first of all, like, how long I gotta wait for certain seasons to happen? Am I supposed to wait for you to be broke? Am I supposed to wait for you to be sick? Am I supposed to wait for you to yell at me for
Oh
you
my
to
God.
say, okay, this is gonna work? Like I don't believe that we have to go through all seasons in the in the beginning. I don't.
Yes.
I totally disagree with struggle love.
Oh, I love it. I love that. I love that. Um, yeah, you know what? I like literally I just heard something for you in my spirit. Like that's your next book, right? About the whole seasons. Like you don't have to go through all the seasons
No,
of
you do
a
not.
relationship. You don't have to go through that, right? So start thinking about that. That might be the next book you write.
Yes, I cannot. When I hear it all the time, oh, I gotta see you in every different light. No, you do not. Like, why do I have to hit rock bottom for you to say,
Right.
yeah, she's a rider? No, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be sick. I don't want to have. I don't want to see you cheat and say, oh yeah, I
Right.
stayed. Like,
Right.
no.
Oh, this I can't remember which story it was, but there was one of the stories where the the girl was like she decided to leave, right? Because she was just sick and tired of the infidelity. He had this, extra girlfriend, multiple girlfriends on the side, but then he left her and then said he stayed with the other girl because she was loyal.
That was the narcissist. That was the,
I,
and I was gonna bring that up when like I said, sometimes I reflect on, what was it? So I asked him, I was like, you know what? Our relationship was over.
yeah.
And at this point, I was being vindictive. I was,
Mm,
I went back because I felt like, okay, he cheated with her. And so if he's cheating with me, it's no big deal because she's already cheated, the
yeah.
whole triangle mess. I didn't have any remorse for her because she didn't leave the relationship alone when he was dating me. So it was like I didn't have any respect for her and like she didn't have respect for me. So
Right.
anyway, this is one of those last moments. This is about to be it. This is us just closing the door on the whole relationship. We argued, we had sex, we argued. This is it. We know this is about to be it. So I
Mm,
asked him, I was like, what was it? What was it about her? Because he met us at like around the same time and he was
yeah.
juggling both. And you can read more about the details in the book, but I'll say a little bit. He was juggling both and he was able to because she was 19 and I was 28.
Yeah.
So here it is. She can't do what I can do because of, curfew, money, whatever it may
Mhm.
be.
Yeah.
So I was like, it was mind boggling. I was like, why would you choose her
Yeah.
over me? Like, what made you choose her? So he said, she's loyal. And I was like laughing. That was one of those things where you try to get feedback on yourself, but you just
Yeah.
like, okay, this is some BS. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
put this in my spirit. I'm not going to put this one in my spirit. No,
Right.
I'm not. Yeah. But he said I was not loyal because when she found out about me, she stayed. And when I found out about her, I left. And that made me disloyal.
Sanetta, when I read that part, I wanted to throw the book across the room because I'm sitting there thinking, what? Like, what was going through his mind to even think that? It wasn't about her being loyal. She just did not love herself. That's what it was. She did not love herself enough to leave, right?
Right.
She
Yeah.
says, let's be real. Let's be real. She was a tenderoni. Exactly.
Right.
She was
Right.
young. She was young in age, young in mind, young in maturity. And so she
Yeah.
didn't know better. It wasn't about being loyal because if anyone was loyal, you were loyal in the situation, right?
Mhm.
She just
Yes.
didn't know any better. But as
Yes.
she said, the blind leading
I
the
was
blind.
just like, mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, ma'am. Like, I guess that was, she hit the jackpot. He's 30 something,
Yeah.
established financially. So,
Yeah.
she felt like she had something. And when I realized what I had gone through for 3 years, I was like, you can have them.
You know what? The book is not just because sometimes you had to kind of think about, okay, is this a woman telling this story, or is this a man? Because sometimes the names, but
Mhm.
there was one particular story that you share where it was clear that that was a man, and he had met this woman that he started dating, right? It was, I think, the police officer scenario.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the story cracked me up because I was thinking, wow, first of all, he was brave to get with a police officer.
Mhm.
And because, and you all can read the book, but his background experience to me would have said, stay away from a police officer. Okay.
Mhm.
And, but here it was, men get duped too. It's not
Right.
always the women. And in that particular story, I felt so bad for him because he poured so much of himself, his
Mhm.
finances, his physicality. He poured so much of himself into this relationship only for her to be the one to
Mhm.
use him and mistreat him and to cheat on him. Right. And so
Mhm.
tell us about like that interview when you were talking to him and he was sharing, because he was dramatic too, because he was a full-on actor at one point. He got an
Mhm.
Academy Award, for his outstanding performance
Yeah.
when she did something to him. But yeah,
Yes.
tell us what that interview was like when you had a conversation with him.
Like I said in the beginning, I like to add humor to my stories because that's a part of my personality. I said the book is an extension of my personality.
Mhm.
So even though it's talking about all these love and heartbreak situations, I wanted the reader to still laugh.
Yeah.
So his story was one of the easiest stories to write because I didn't have to add in the humor. He is funny. I didn't have to add any of my spark or humor. I
Yeah.
just had to just write it however, add in the fillers and everything. But I just asked him everything, and he was very dramatic when he told me. And I said, you know what? I'm not even gonna change the way he said it. I'm gonna write some of this just exactly how he said it. He's hilarious. So it was funny. It was a very funny interview.
Yes.
He was helpful. He was in bringing the humor to that story. But I felt sorry for him because he ended up having two stories in a book. So I really felt sorry for him. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe I didn't get to that one yet because I didn't get through everything. But I'm like, I'm gonna still continue
Mhm.
to read because I need to know what happens. But it's that particular story was just a testament to how men can so easily be taken as well, and that there are
Mhm. Mhm.
manipulative, devious women who will prey
Mhm.
on someone like him, right? Because he was like an easy target, honestly, for someone like her. He
Mhm.
was an easy target
Mhm.
because he was afraid of her, essentially, because
Right.
of who she
Right.
was. And so he
He
was able to
Mhm.
easily manipulate that situation to get what she wanted. And how often do we end up in situations like that where we might be actually fearful of the person that we're in relationship with? So we will succumb to anything, right?
Right.
And
Mhm.
you got to tell me which one is his other story because I got to get to that one quickly so I can see what else
I
happened to this
will. I
man.
will. Yes.
So,
Out of I think it's four of the stories, four or five, four of the stories are male point of views. I didn't want the
okay.
book to be just like, oh, a woman bashing book. So I said, I'm gonna
Yes.
get other people's point of view. So four or five of the stories. I think I'll let you know.
Okay. Yes. Definitely let me know. So, and everyone, we're running Sanetta's information across the screen as well. So you'll be able to, again, follow her on social media. She's at Miss Hopeful Romantic. And you can also ensure that you click the link. We will make sure that the link is within the comments so that you can click right on it and grab a copy of her book. Okay. So again, follow her on Instagram at Miss Hopeful Romantic. And I love what she said about being hopeful instead of hopeless, because so often we enter into relationships and relationships go bad. And so we think that there's no hope. But Sonetta helps us to know that there is hope. We can be hopeful that love can really prevail in relationships. And I think Sonetta's frozen, so I'm not sure if she can hear us, but I have appreciated this time with Sonetta. I absolutely appreciate the comments that have come through. Oh, we lost Sanetta. Hopefully, she'll be able to pop back in. But oh, there she is. Okay, she's coming back.
Okay.
Sanetta, hey, yay, she's back.
I said, I'm just going to use my cell phone. I hope this is better.
This is perfect. This is perfect. What I was just
Mhm.
saying is that, just kind of reiterating what you were sharing about being hopeful instead of hopeless, right? That there is still hope for relationships. There can still be joy in relationships. It takes work on our
Oh,
parts, right? It takes understanding who we are, what we desire, what we will and will not accept, right? Those non-negotiables list, right? You
yeah.
said you created a list, and the guy that you're dating now and have been dating for over a year, that was only one thing on the list. And so clearly that was not a non-negotiable, right? Because you're still together. And
Hmm.
that's okay. I've know plenty of women who've done. I had a friend actually that made her list. She put it in her Bible. She prayed on it, and the man that came into her life was like everything that she
Hmm.
desired and had prayed for on her list, right? So it's
Hmm.
possible when you're hopeful. When you're
Hmm.
hopeful. And so, if you were to give the audience just some nuggets of wisdom from your own dating experiences, your own dating challenges, your own dating, wonderful experiences, what would be some of the encouragement that you would give them to help them to know that continue to be hopeful because there is love out there for them? There is that wonderful person. No one's perfect, but that wonderful person that will really bring a level of joy and peace to a relationship with them. So tell us a little bit about some of the wisdom you want to share with the audience.
Okay. But like I said, I'm hopeful, and I think a lot of people should be hopeful and never give up. Everyone jokes and says I got one relationship in me. I've said that so many times, but just never give up. Like, it's out there. If it's for you, if it's meant to be, it will be. One thing I would like to say that we really didn't touch on is a lot of times we want certain things in other people, but are we who we should be? Are we making sure we're in the right place at the right time? Are we equipping ourselves with all the things that we need to have a healthy relationship? Are you working on that attitude? Are you
Mm,
working on being humble? Are you working on your finances? Are you working on your level of respect, your loyalty, your whatever it is that you want in a man? I used to always say, whatever I have, I expect him to have or more. I'm not gonna ask for something that I don't have. And if
yes.
you're not a good person,
Woo.
how can you expect someone to be a good person to you? I mean, good person. Because a
Yes.
lot of people think they're good people and they're
Yes.
not good people. How can you be a genuine good person and you will probably meet a genuine good person? It
Yes.
might, but you have to, some people come in and they're not quite right. And that's when you have to use your discernment and knowing if that person is, or trying to know, because you never know some days, but trying to know if that person is a good person. And starting with the consistency.
Mhm.
Bad people cannot be consistent forever.
Oh, say that again. Say it again, Sonetta.
People can't be consistent forever. That consistency is big,
Somebody
big.
post that. Somebody post that. Bad people can't be consistent forever. And so they tell on themselves with their
They
inconsistency.
will. They will. I dated a pastor for 4 months, not 4 months, for 4 weeks. Bad people cannot be consistent forever. They will
Even
tell
the
on
pastor.
themselves some
Yeah.
way, some form
Yep.
in that consistency.
Yes. Tamila says, a pastor.
Yes, bam. There's a pastor in the books. That's not my story, but that's a pastor in the book.
Thank God that's not your story.
It's not my story, but there's a pastor in the book.
Oh my God. There's literally like every scenario you can think of is in this book. I love the fact that you were able to take this and you didn't just tell your own story, right? Because while your story may be common for so many people,
Mhm.
you were able to take other people's stories and show the commonalities in
Mhm.
relationships, right? That we're
Mhm.
all walking through some of the very same situations in relationships. They may happen in different ways because some of these things I'm like, Lord Jesus, I would have just run, like I would have run as soon as they did that. But we're all at different levels now. I'm much more mature now. Back then, I probably would have been like, "Oh, I just love him, just want to stay. I just love him. I think he's gonna be wonderful." And we think we can change
Right.
them, right? But you have to
Mhm.
know that you cannot change anyone. They have to be willing to change themselves, and they don't have to change themselves for you. They need to change themselves for themselves, right?
Right.
And so,
Right.
um, I'm going to let you share anything else that you want to share. And if anybody else has any final comments, I saw someone say that they have a copy of the book and they enjoyed it. Definitely
Thank
grab your
you.
copy of Sonetta's book. Okay.
Thank
And I
you.
will have the link in my link tree as well. So if you go on the page and you click on my link, you'll be able to get to her book. We'll post the link in the comments. But it's misshopefulromantic.com. You can get your book. You can grab it on Amazon as well. You want to make sure that you
And
follow her. And where else? Where else?
and Audible.
And Audible. Oh, look, so you can listen to the book as
And it's
well. Okay.
my voice.
Oh, okay. So I love that. That's even better, right? So they get to hear it in
Mhm.
your own voice, which is, I'm
Mhm.
sure, very exciting. So definitely grab a copy of this book, get it on Audible, share it with your friends because it is funny. It is a little explicit. I'm gonna be honest. I was like, whoa, but but it is truly an amazing way to hear what other people have walked through in a relationship, how they were able to overcome. Because what I do enjoy at the end of many of these stories is you see how they overcame, right? How they were able to get out of the situation, what they learned about themselves from the situation, that they didn't just leave the situation and was like, okay, whatever, let me jump to the next thing. They learned something. And so that's what I hope all of us. She's like, yes, I had to stop reading for a minute. Yeah, I was like, hold on, let me fan myself. What is happening here? Whoa, right?
I just
But
sprinkled it a little bit in there. I try not to keep, try not to have too much of it, but I sprinkled it in there.
look, your sprinkle was like a whole like tsunami. I was like, whoa, wait a minute now. Let me come on back from this. But for some people it's a sprinkle. For me, it was a tsunami, but it's all right. It's okay.
No, I mean, I
Right.
sprinkled it throughout the book. No, the scenes were vivid, but I sprinkled it throughout the book. I didn't have it all, every story was not a sex story.
That's true. Very
Mhm.
true. One thing I will
Mhm.
say, though, Sanetta, is you're an excellent writer. You are an
Oh,
excellent writer. As I was
thank
reading these
you.
stories, I'm like this, and I'm a writing coach, so I see all kinds of stories, and I was like, wow, she has a gift, right? You have a
Mhm.
gift to write, and so I hope that this is not the last book that you write. I believe that you have many more to come. You have so many other stories to share.
Mhm.
Hopefully, we'll hear something great about this relationship that you're currently in. That is going to be long lasting. Like we're going to be praying for that for you. Um,
Mhm.
but I definitely believe that there's so much more to come from you. You have a power in the way that you write. You have a gift in the way that you tell stories. You are oh wow, I was just gonna say you are a great storyteller. And Carol said excellent storyteller, which you
Mhm.
definitely are. And so I know that there's more to come from you. Is there anything that you're working on right now? Anything you want to share with the audience so that they can know what's coming next for Miss Hopeful Romantic?
I'm just still trying to think of what my next book will be. Right now, I'm bouncing around the idea of online dating book because I
Oh,
have 20 plus years in online dating, and when I say that, usually people are like, "What?" That's one of my places I like to go when I'm single. So a lot of people are scared to do it, so that's one thing I'm leaning towards. And yes.
oh, well, you might just wait. How many years did you say you have?
Over 20 years of online dating experience.
Girl, okay, look. So you may have a whole new realm opening up for you, which might be like online dating coach. because
And
there's
mhm,
a lot of people, and
and the
I'm not ashamed to admit I'm petrified about the whole online dating thing, right? And so you may have some people that say, "Hey, you might need to coach me and teach me in this space of online dating." So Sanetta, never rule that out.
mhm, yeah. The guy I'm dating, I met him on online dating
Okay.
website as well. So yes, yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. I love it. I love it. Well, this has been fabulous.
Mhm.
I'm so thankful for all of you that joined us live. Thank you for everyone that will watch the replay, everyone that will listen through the podcast, The Writer's Anointing, which can be found on all of your major podcasting platforms. Um, Again, this is season 3, and I'm just amazed at the level of talent that comes through our show. I'm so blessed that God has given me this platform to be able to feature individuals like Sanetta, to be able to share her story with the world, and really to be able to just reach another level of audience that may not have heard of her before. But trust me, you will be hearing so much more about her because there's so much more for her to share and to give to this world. And I'm just honored that you shared this space with me tonight, Sanetta. We're sorry for all of the technical glitches. We already know that, those things happen, but it's
Yeah.
okay. The point of what you had to share came across and came across well. And you never know. You may be back for another season of Storytime Stephanie when you have your next book about online dating. But right
Yes.
now, Diary of a Hopeful Romantic by Sanetta Guyton. Definitely go out and get this book, share with your friends, have conversations, right? And then follow Sanetta at Miss Hopeful Romantic and share your comments with her, share your feedback with her, right? So she can have some online dialogue with you all about this whole thing, love and relationships, because we all desire that in our lives. We all desire that love and that wonderful relationship that we can have that's long lasting. And so read the book, share your comments with her. You can even come back on this page, this particular episode, share your comments with us because we'd love to hear from you. So, Sanetta, any closing words from you?
Thank you for having me. You have definitely impacted me by just giving me those positive words. Um, it's my first book, of course, so I was very nervous. I was very critical of myself. I was like, "Is it good enough? Can I compete?" I went through all those emotions, and I just thank you so much for having me. I thank you all for buying the book. I thank you all for just giving me all your feedback. I've gotten so much feedback. Some of the feedback is funny. Some of the feedback is like, "Oh my God." Like one of the things I got when the book was first published, people crying. And they were crying like in the first 2 chapters. And I'm like, "Oh my God." I didn't think they were going to cry that soon. There's a chapter, I'll say the last chapter. The last chapter, I knew there was going to be tears, but
Yeah.
I didn't expect so many people to start crying so soon. And they were crying because it spoke to their experiences, and some of them were actually going through it at that point, at that time in their life. So I'm glad I can impact people. I'm glad I can tell my stories. I'm glad I can make people laugh. And I just say thank you for having me.
Oh, I thank you. And thank you, everyone, for being with us tonight, for listening. Thanks to all of you for, if this is your first time watching Storytime with Stephanie, we are here the second and fourth Monday of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern. So follow us on Facebook, Stephanie Outen Literary Doula. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with our next guest. And we love to showcase independent authors, self published authors, traditionally published authors. This is our platform. This is what we're all about. We love to make sure that those who have the courage to write their stories get the platform to be able to share it. So come back with us in a couple of weeks. We'll be right here with Storytime with Stephanie. I am so grateful to all of you. I'm grateful to you, Sanetta. And please, please message me about the other chapter in that book. And we'll
Chapter
definitely be
12.
talking. Chapter 12?
Yeah. Chapter 12, Oasis of Drama.
I think that's about where I was getting. So that's why I didn't get to it yet. Okay.
Chapter 12,
Perfect.
Oasis of Drama, yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you
And
so much.
the last one is a tearjerker. I admit it's
Oh
it's
boy.
sad.
Okay, well, I'm gonna get
So,
my tissue ready for that last chapter.
okay, yeah, it's a sad one, but yes, yes. I thank you for all your feedback. Thank you again for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you all, everyone. Y'all have a wonderful night and God bless. Bye bye.